and welcome. I'm Maria and I'm here to talk about the sales makeover. If you've landed on this page, it's because you're either a founder or co-founder or you're looking to improve your sales in terms of capacity and impact and results, of course. So sales is my life. It's been that way for about 27 years. And I'm going to talk through how did I come up with a signature program called Sales Makeover. So the agency Fadas Digitais has a Portuguese name because I'm from Lisbon in Portugal. Wow. And the premium sales training that I offer is for few groups of few business owners, founders, co-founders who really want to become experts at sales. There's a clear distinction. We're not trying to create professional sales. I've never met any founder who wanted to sell for the next 2 years. We want to create the expertise so that you're in a position to hire a salesperson. And that means you need to get to a certain level of revenue to be able to do that. So I usually work with purposely driven founders because they tend to resonate with my values and sort of core mission and vision, which is to give value and create really long lasting relationships. So it's a long game, not a short term game. So the business sales makeover is a fantastic program that I've sort of put together, readjusted, reviewed, improved over the last 5 to 6 years, actually now 7. And it really is 6 months long because I have never seen transformation happen in less time, especially because most of the founders and salespeople, sales professionals I come across don't have about 90 days to about 100 days of data for us to review. So we have to kind of create that process from scratch. So this is an accelerator sales focused program, okay? So that you increase your revenue and hire a team of salespeople so that you can step away from the sales division and focus on creating even better content, even better services, even better products. So that's the purpose and the promise of the program, so that you end every single week feeling like this. Now, I'm a sportsman and a sailor, so I'm very much into this image. So sales is literally an exchange of value, okay? The idea is people have this relationship with the idea of selling, the idea of being having to deal with someone who's pushy and pressuring them. So this is not what we are about. We are about understanding the love and hate relationship that people may have with the sales process, because whether you like it or not, it is unnatural to sell. It's unnatural for us to contact strangers and ask them to buy something from us, okay, without having, those three questions. Who are you? What the hell should I care? And what's in it for me? That's what everyone asks in their minds when they are in contact with someone, whether it's face to face, whether it's a virtual event, etc. So, this love and hate relationship is that most people would not like to be in a sales capacity every single day, every moment of every day as a business owner, but they need to create and generate revenue. And of course, it is not made the program for you to work at sales forever. Okay, sales and founders who create their businesses come usually from a product and services mindset. So they want to change something that they found was missing in the market and a problem they wanted to solve. So therefore, it is only for you to understand that the sales makeover is to transform your system of belief, so belief system, mindset, what you think, so that you become an expert, understand the whole process, put it into place, test it, review all the data that comes from that process. Every time you acquire new customers, send that invoice out, you are establishing a methodology that you're then implementing later on with your company when you hire salespeople to replicate what you've done. But if you haven't done that, how can you teach someone else to do it and do it either the same as you or better? So if you haven't connected with me, I'm very much active on LinkedIn, and I encourage you to be in touch and to follow our company. I'm always open to any questions you may have. The idea is after this that you are compelled to reach out and be in touch and make a call. I've worked and studied in all these organizations. As you can see, a very wide array of organizations, from publishers to media to school to adult training to aerospace companies to Warner Brothers. And of course, on the left hand side, you can see the organizations where I've studied. So I actually do know what I'm talking about, apart from having had a career in sales all these years. So the idea is for you to reflect, take a step back, a deep breath, and ask yourself, are you 100% happy with your sales in the function inside your company? And that may be a very important question for you to ask yourself, because you either spent few weeks, months, or years in a cycle that we are trying to improve and dramatically sort of change so that you can have the impact that you have. So, most companies, most founders, most business owners that come across me and my services and the program that I'm delivering lack the clarity in their processes. So they lack the clarity of who are they selling to specifically. So there's more than one niche. There's one niche on your side and a sub niche. And there's one niche on the other side of the customers you're trying to reach and a sub niche of what they're trying to achieve. They lack clarity in terms of the messaging and don't center what they offer on the outcomes of what they offer. They are too much tied up to what it is that they do, what it is that the product does, all the features, all the functionality, all the things that make the product or the service fantastic, and they cannot translate that into the actual outcome. They have no process in place, which means, what is your process? What is your best process? How do you actually go from end to end in your pipeline, to from the moment you contact someone to closing a sale, to establishing a relationship to go forward with them hiring you or your services or your platform? And how long does that process take? Does it take 3 weeks from 0 to 100? Does it take 6 weeks? How expensive is that system? Is it more expensive to acquire a customer than it is to deliver the service? So those are the things that you really need to pay attention to. Things like sales sequences, sales pipeline, sales workflows. What is the action that you're doing? So the AAA is, do you have the right attitude? Are you thinking in ways that give you the information that you need to have to take the right action? Do you have the right acquisition system? Those three A's are absolutely critical. And the last one is ineffective action. Believe it or not, creating a ton of content does not make a sale. And that means that if you haven't already noticed, all the platforms, we're going to talk about that in a little while after this, the social media platforms and the platforms out there, they have different criteria and different objectives to you. They have other very important objectives for themselves. And we've noticed that organic content has decreased dramatically because they're out there to make money through paid advertising. So, sales, I believe, and a lot of businesses know this, is by far the most important function that you can run, establish, and develop, because it's the only one that brings in revenue into your business. And what I mean by that is, if you can consider that a lot of people use marketing as the call out name for a company to generate sales and opportunities. But if you think about it, why do I say that sales are the most important? Because product development is the kind of start of your business. So finding a gap or niche in the market that needs to be filled, or a solution that needs to be created, doing that customer original startup research and impact, and having that feedback that generates an improvement on that product. Then you move on to the marketing side. So really doing that at scale. And that's where the sales systems and processes come in. But these two things, marketing and a product development, are actually serving sales, because you always start at the point where you are ready to sell. So go to market instead of minimum value proposition. So the MVP stage is pre-sale, and then going to market is the sales stage. You set up those targets, you set up those objectives, because without those figures, those numbers, Where are you going to benchmark your activity and your processes? You can't. So, in other words, I've organized this in a different way. If you look at product development, customer service, or user experience, in the case of platform as a service, in relation to sales and marketing activity, which is, as the name suggests, the activity with the market you're trying to serve, sales is by far the function that proves that you are doing the right thing. So, when everything else works, the sales process is working. So you are generating sales. Your role as a founder, as a business owner, whether you run a service or product or e commerce, or even an organization, or even an association or a chamber of commerce, is to create certain sales targets. It could be membership based model, it could be a service product based model like I have with the two programs that I delivered, which are Sales Makeover and the Sales Leadership programs for teams. Whatever it is, you start with establishing those targets. The second stage is to establish the process, which then translates into a system that translates into a task that you have to undertake daily so that you make that system foolproof, clear, established, and ready to be sort of shared with your hiring team, the people you're going to hire to take on the sales role from you, off your hands. That's what I'm trying to achieve for you. So when you execute that process, you obviously have to monitor, you have to improve that. And that is the process that we create and generate to transform you from where you are to where you want to be. Now, I've used the sales makeover because it really encapsulates what I am promising. The transformation that we need to have from going from an employee selling someone else's products, someone else's services, someone else's memberships to selling our own. We have to change our belief system, our thinking. Things like that you would know when you have a company that the year actually has 13 months, not 12. That is why in Portugal we actually get paid 13 months in our wages. We have 12, but then we have an extra payment in the summer or the winter at the end of the year. Because if you divide 52 weeks by 4, it's not 12, is it? So that's the one thing that you need to understand. There's things that we know as employees that we don't know, or we have to acquire knowledge we have to know when we become business owners. So the thinking and the belief set that you have determines your attitude, which determines the focus that you will have in certain things, certain aspects of your business, that determines the cycle of actions and behaviors that you have acquired over a long period of time. And it is unreasonable to think that we can modify them in less than 6 months, so 180 days. It's almost impossible to do that. So, what do the platforms and social media, like we very well known term social selling, means? It means it's kind of a maze where a lot of people get lost. A lot of people use these tactics, these content, generate content, post every day, these tools that only deflect you from the core thing, which is having sales with high value prospects or high value clients. So these platforms have a different agenda to yours. They're not interested in whether you have enough revenue every month to pay not just yourself, but all the bills to sustain your business. They're interested in traffic, increasing their traffic, how long you stay in there, keeping people busy with various numbers of subjects and perspectives, which are always polarized to keep people arguing, and to give them a false sense of belonging. So, people, when they are on those platforms, they're not looking to solve their life challenges or immediately think, what can I do to improve myself as a person, as a father, as a mother, as a business owner, as a lawyer, as a entrepreneur or charity worker, whatever it may be. And they also have, because of that reason, a very short attention span. So, the one asset we're all trying to achieve and to harness is the attention. So, the attention of our audience is perhaps the most valuable asset you can ever manipulate and have. If you don't capture their attention and if you don't have a focused mind on a set target and process, you will disperse your energy to the point where it's death by a thousand cuts. You're going all directions, leaping from one platform to another, to another, to another, instead of doing what we do in the sales makeover, which is have a focused, predetermined process where you know exactly what you need to do every single day for a couple of hours. Dedicate yourself to actually the activity of selling, so that you can then focus your time, effort, and energy somewhere else. So this is what we're after. We're after an optimized and systematized form of sales process. Because your role, as I said, is to have those targets, those processes, and to execute and monitor. Now, very quickly, I'd like to just show you the two huge differences between a sales funnel and a sales pipeline. You might have heard these terms interchangeably, but essentially the sales process or the pipeline is where you have specific steps that lead a person from one milestone to the next and leads them through a process up to the close time. So it's an end-to-end step and milestone defined process. This is very much used in high value relationship calls, high value relationship sales for higher cost products, because no one's going to pay you 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 pounds just by having an email from you, not knowing what you do and not having that relationship established. These are what we call high value clients and high value stake sales. The other diagram that I have next to it, the sales funnel tends to be more relevant to e-commerce, where the products are below 300, 400 pounds, where the payment system and the optimization is based on the customer journey, based on their behavior. So it's an impulse almost buy. It's a product that tends to be lower value, that leads them emotionally and visually and sensory through a system, a journey. Now, these two systems, they're not opposed, they do not exclude each other, but they complement each other. And you can even interlace each one of these steps or journeys into each other. Now, as an example, okay, this is hugely complex, but I just wanted you to see something that one of our clients has created based on our teachings that we co-created, and it's literally on the left-hand side, the stages. So that's what we call the customer pipeline stage. So that's the pipeline with the steps that you need to take. And on the right-hand side, you can see the people and systems and processes that are involved in creating the journey. So at every point, the customer in this quite big corporate company, okay, uh, ended up being very, very big, created. And the sales professional, the executive, actually created this based on those two concepts, the pipeline and the behavior and who is involved at every stage of the process. So in a nutshell, and almost ending, there's three things that we focus in the Sales Makeover program, which is fantastically simple. There are only three things that matter, three multipliers, and those are the number of customers you have, the frequency in which they buy, and the average order value that they spend. So how much they spend every time they buy from you. Working this process of changing those three variables makes the process of selling absolutely simple. So we are looking to define how much we want to achieve in terms of sales numbers and sales revenue. We define the process, and then we define what we need to do to get there. So there's only three things that matter: the customer, average order number, and the frequency, which, as you can see, translates into a set revenue. Now, oh, this is so exciting. Most people think that to achieve a double amount of revenue, they have to double the amount of customers, but that's not true. We have found, and I have found over the years, that although the customer acquisition is very important, it's also extremely expensive. It costs up to 7 to 12 times more to acquire a customer that's brand new than to nurture our existing customers. We also need data to target customers when we are going out to get more of them. And we we can't do that without paying for adverts, and adverts are not really valid or not worth paying for unless we have organic engagement. So it can take a lot longer to acquire a customer than it does to nurture the one you have, because otherwise you're going to be pouring money into LinkedIn, who's obviously, as you know, owned by Microsoft, or Facebook in case of e-commerce, because of the type of audiences that they have. So what should we be doing, for example, in this particular scenario where you have those three variables? That's what we're going to learn, is that you don't need to double any of those single multipliers. You just need to increase them by about 30%. If you do this systematically, we can look at a situation which I've seen before with you. 1,000 customers spending $10 will give you a revenue of $10,000. If you increase the customer number, the frequency, and the average order spend to another $3, you will achieve more than double that amount. So very quickly, I'm just going to show you a graph. So if you look at the multiplier increase here from quarter 4 in 2004, you can see that this customer was actually a e-commerce customer. So they sold online products. Went from 164,346 to 361.068 in the next 90 days because of their multipliers. Of course, the number is slightly less every 180 days and less every 30 days, because we have calculated that based on a 90 days sales cycle. So sales cycles are very important. So how can we do this in our sales makeover? As a founder, as a person who's setting up your systems, you have to understand that the frequency figure is actually calculated by dividing the number of customers by the number of orders. It gives you the frequency average purchase. So increasing customers doesn't have to be a huge and exhausting and overwhelming thing. There's many things to do it, and we learned that in a makeover. There's ways of doing it through your CRM and pipeline. There's ways of doing outreaching campaigns through mail shots, direct mails, and newsletters, and capturing emails from all your social media platforms. There's referral strategies that we use that are very effective, where you create a proposal to your existing pool of contacts and customers to increase and generate interest from their contacts, their networks, what we call other people's networks, or OPNs. There's also a way of organizing your team to be able to offer the same customer more products, so doing bundle offers. And there's also a way to collaborate and increase our customer numbers through partnerships and collaborative contacts, which is really underdeveloped and underused by a lot of people. Okay, you don't need to start from scratch. In fact, 80% of your existing customers should really generate most of your business, while you would have a kind of a churn of 20% on top of that. But you don't have to spend every single day of every week trying to get new customers in, because as we said before, and as you saw, it's extremely expensive, it can be costly, and of course it will drain a lot of your resources. In terms of average order value increase, there's many things we can do. We can do bundle offers, we can do seasonal campaigns, we can do free shipping, we can do time sensitive offers like Black Friday. We can obviously increase revenue spent through email direct campaigns. And also we can raise prices. You'd be surprised what a 1% increase can make in terms of conversions in a single quarter. It's quite staggering. So this is just very quickly what can be achieved in your sales makeover. This is obviously a system that generates interest and generates a pipeline of interest that allows the person to have a regular calendar booking, because as a consultant or service provider, your aim should be at scale to have people book calls. So now you can see that your laser focused activity as a founder, setting up and developing your sales pipeline or sales experience sort of funnel, is on the customer, frequency in which they buy, and the average order value. So this is how the 1% achieve their targets and their goals. Because without a plan, you are planning to fail. That is without a doubt. And if you commit to a worthy and a proven growth process, which we will work together to achieve in a short space of time, you can then make sure that you are in control of the process rather than at the mercy of referrals or people calling you in. That just doesn't happen anymore because there's just too much offer out there and people have too many choices. So you have to decide how you will play the game because this is how the top one brands succeed. So taking a deep breath, it's a hard truth to understand and sort of accept and take on. But I do truly believe that to change your business, I believe that the business is a reflection of you. We have to go through these changes. We have to understand and be proficient at selling in order for the business to change. So if you want to sell more, if you want to be an expert at sales, you've got to become very good at it before you can actually hire staff. So what is the sales program sort of aiming to do, and how do we get there? What is the journey like? What does it look like? So you would commit to about 2 hours, probably 3 weekly hours. So you have 2 hours of weekly group focused sessions, 1 hour of private one-to-one coaching and mentoring where you can approach me with anything you'd like to talk about, any specific process that you're dealing with or tackling or wanting to implement or any campaign. You have a platform where everything's recorded, all the calls are there. You don't need to wonder what's happening today, this week, when is the next call. Everything is laid out for you when you log on to the platform. And you also have processes of templates, worksheets, Excel spreadsheets mostly, because then you can improve on those and then transfer them into your own digital stack gradually without pressure. But at least you know what to do in terms of even DMs, how to approach that on LinkedIn. A lot of what we do is centered around LinkedIn because it is the most professionally driven and commercially optimized platform there is. And of course, then you have the forum of Sales to Sales Know-how, where we and I share gains, wins, latest deals, things that will inspire you to attract your ideal customers so that you can keep that clarity absolutely there at every single step of the way. So you're absolutely clear on what you need to do. So if you look at this, you have at least 8, 10, 12 hours of coaching and mentoring per month, which is phenomenal and staggering. Then you have a platform that's working 24 hours a day, wherever you are in the world, where you can access the video vaults that we record, the sessions that we record in groups by topic. And you have all the templates and a forum where you can network within the platform with other like-minded founders that are just in the same journey as you are. All of this is available to you at a rate of £997 per month, which is a phenomenal value for money for what you will receive and for the potential that you have to really change the course of your business for the better. That means now that it comes to the point of you deciding how to proceed. The next step is to just say, do I want to continue as I am for the next month, 3 months, 6 months, yeah, and going forward, or am I going to make the decision to come on board? So next steps are we talk sales. So despite you liking my presentation or not, I still want to know you. I still want to discuss, have a discussion and polish any corners you might feel need clarifying to make sure that you align your goals with the promise that I'm making. Absolutely committed to you and your expectations to make sure I exceed them at every point together. And then we decide on a start date. The second point is to join on board. I will give you a link for you to pay, make the payment. And for the next 6 months, you're on board to really make a difference so that you can hire. I would expect that most of our mentorees are able to hire within 3 to 4 months of starting, which is fantastic. Because can you imagine you offloading this sales process that you've personally crafted for your business, be happy about it, be proficient at it, and able to bring that new staff member onto the business so that you can continue to grow? That is my dream for you, and I know that it is possible. So thank you for being here. Any questions, please do connect with me. I will have a link below this video or a way for you to communicate with me. or on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to hear.